Looks good. Meeting is now streaming live.
Okay, if you want, I'll take this first part. So first part, we want to call to order a public meeting at 8:00 a.m. For the record, let me read the public notice that went out. Notice is hereby given that a public hearing pursuant to Section 859A of the New York State General Municipal Law as amended will be held by the Greene County Industrial Development Agency on the 17th day of September of 2020 at 8:00 a.m. local time at the GCIDA office located at 270 Mansion Street, Coxsackie, New York, in conjunction with the following matter. The Freepoint Solar LLC project will develop a 5 megawatt solar field under New York State Community Solar Program. The IDA is proposing to provide incentives in the form of payment in lieu of taxes. The pilot is proposed for a 20-year term. The application submitted by the company and relevant supporting documents submitted to the IDA in conjunction with the project may be reviewed by the public at the IDA's office or on the IDA's website at www.greenida.com. Inquiries about the project and IDA assistance shall be directed to Renee Mishak, Executive Director. The GCIDA will, at the above stated time, hear all persons with views in favor or opposition to the rendering of financial assistance by the GCIDA for the project. Minutes of the public hearing will be made available to the public and members of the GCIDA. That being said, is there anybody present that would like to speak at the public hearing?
Okay, just to speak quickly.
Well, why don't you come over here, because you can't be seen.
You want to TV or cable?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, just introduce yourself, Nick.
Rick Hance, Supervisor, Town of Coxsackie. I just want to reiterate what I've said to people before, publicly at town board meetings, and what I really do believe. The project is proposed, went through a very thorough review and refinement process with our planning board. Our zoning board of appeals was involved. And working together, I think we came up with a project that is really going to have benefit. It's working to reduce our dependence on non-renewable fuels. But most of all, it illustrates the town board's displeasure with the Article 10 process. Because working together, we did overcome a lot of hurdles. We ameliorated view shed issues, and we've got long-term plans going out to, well, I won't be here for decommissioning, but this is the kind of thing that I wish we could do with the larger projects. Unfortunately, the state has preempted that, but the town board is very happy with how this project has developed. And also, you worked well with the neighbors. The neighbors are happy. And when the neighbors are happy, you know you did something right.
Yeah, that's true. We know something about that.
That's about it for my comments, but I really wish we could do this with all renewable energy projects. Too bad we can't.
Thank you. Anybody, is there anybody else that would like to speak at this time on the public hearing? So I think what we'll do, Eric, is we'll keep the public hearing open for a little bit longer, just in case anybody shows up in the next 10 or 15 minutes. We will need to close it prior to acting on this item, because my intent is today, we don't have written minutes to approve, but clearly the whole board's here, and that's the extent of the minutes at this point.
So for 10 minutes,
Well, we're going to do, we'll just go ahead and proceed. We're going to leave it open for, say, 10 more minutes, and we'll just go ahead and proceed with the meeting. And if anybody, yeah, right.
Okay. All right, so we need to call our regular
Right.
meeting to order. So we'll call our regular board meeting to order. First order of business is reading the approval of the minutes for our August 27th, 2020 meeting. I need a motion.
Take a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
On the finance report.
I'll make a motion to approve the check detail as presented.
Okay. Need a second.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And I'll make a motion to approve the cash flow statements as presented.
Need a second.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Okay.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the 2020 audit. As you know, a few years back, we went out for quotes on a multi-year contract with BSK, which is now BSK.
BSD.
Okay, BSD. They've done a great job for us. The last year ran out last year. What we'd like to propose is we've asked them for a price to just extend with us. Now, one of the reasons you normally would try to move, and you would normally try to shake up and change your auditor every now and then is you don't want the same person always doing your audits. The good thing with this firm is the principal auditor is never the same more than 2 years in a row. So they always take the supervising auditor, it's somebody new. So there's new eyes, somebody looking at it all the time. So I'm comfortable that we're meeting our requirement there from our fiduciary responsibility. Besides the fact that we have good controls here in the office, even with Peggy gone, I open statements and sign them, make sure that they weren't altered. April does it, and then we have Deb comes in and does the independent bookkeeping for us. So we got really good controls here. So at this point, we no action as of today. Let us get the number from them for the next year's coming audit. But it would be definitely, considering we're going to be trying to work on some space transition and some other things here at year end. These guys have been good to work with, and again, they're meeting what the general requirements or recommendations are, that you don't always have the same principal auditor year after year after year. So on that, plus they're very, very experienced in IDA audits, which every time we start out with somebody, we get somebody who doesn't know IDA audits, it's a real nightmare. They don't, because we just operate a little differently on some things than most people do. So I don't know if there's any comments or anything on that, but. The next item on the agenda, as you know, on the Greene Land Trust, which we set up, is now independent from us and holding all our lands. The bylaws require that there is somebody representing the IDA on the board. It does not have to be a staff member and/or director. So in this particular case, I know that neither April or myself are interested in doing it. I kind of presumed, but if any board member would like to consider being on that, I sort of assume most of you wouldn't. So I've asked Ron Roush, who Freddie knows, used to work for me for a number of years and now works for, he's with Parks, right? Yeah, Parks, and he's up there high. Ron's a real bright cookie. He's sitting as basically a general member on the board right now. I asked him if he'd be willing to, sort of sit as our rep. He's agreed that he would be willing to do that.
Excellent choice.
You want to add anything about Ron? You know him a long time, very good friends.
No, well-versed, really, transparent, trustworthy guy. I think he'd be a great fit.
Right. And it's just somebody that's there in case something comes up that, we might want to know they're thinking about. All these years, we've never, ever had anything problem-wise. But so if that's the case, then we'd make a motion to appoint Ron Roush to be our representative on the Greene Land Trust.
Make that motion, Renee.
Need a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Let's skip over Freepoint for 1 second just to leave the public hearing up just a little bit longer. I'm certain we're not going to see anybody, but Camptown. So we have sent you a whole bunch of stuff in the last couple of weeks. The board was sent out the secret documents, the finding statement. And as of today, we had the public hearing on, I sent you the minutes on that, which was pretty much open the public hearing, read the thing, and close the public hearing. We had nobody in attendance at that one. So we're ready today to close the deal. So I'm going to turn it over to my friend Paul here to just walk us through what we need to do on the resolutions and stuff.
So in your package, there's 2 resolutions for Camptown. So the first one is entitled Seeker Resolution. And it's a resolution determining that the acquisition, financing, and installation of Camptown LLC project is an unlisted action and will not have a significant impact on the environment. We had sent out the environmental assessment form. Basically, what the project involves is a renovation and redevelopment of the property, the old Rip Van Winkle Motor Lodge. There is a substantial amount of work to the earth. So I would ask that someone move the secret resolution as drafted.
I'll move the secret resolution as drafted.
We need a second. All those in favor?
Aye. So the next one is a final lease resolution. And what it does, just in briefly format, is we're providing a 16-year pilot agreement with Camptown, and we're giving them a sales tax and a mortgage tax exemption. So it's technically because this project is within a hotel type setting, it is under our uniform tax policy. We have a 15-year exemption. We're providing a 16-year exemption. So basically, under the pilot, for the first 5 years, they'll pay a 30% premium over and above the assessment. And then thereafter would be the 485 on the difference. So for the 10 years. There's be a sales tax and a mortgage tax exemption. We're doing a deviation to the extent that we're adding an extra year. And we're actually deviating because we're providing more benefit to the local community rather than what's under our policy. So it's actually a positive for them. So just turning to the guts of the resolution, they've represented that it's a tourism destination project. In paragraph 2, we're approving our deviation and we're limiting our financial assistance as described in the finding statement. Section 3 on page 3, we're approving the finding statement circulated, and we're approving all the documents related to it going through this. Then, under our project benefit termination and reduction and amendment policy, they have to show an investment of $4.5 million is the material factor. So if there are any questions, I'll take questions. If not, would someone care to move that resolution?
I'll be happy to move this.
Need a second?
Second.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
So I will get, I talked to them last night, I'm gonna send out your name to them and have them get their attorney talking to you, and so we'll get rocking and rolling on the paperwork. They're ready and interested to go. The next item on our agenda will be Freepoint Solar. It's by 8:15, and I would call the public hearing closed with no further comment. So Paul, same thing with Freepoint. Dan was here last month to talk to us. Dan, you were satisfied? We made all the amendments that we discussed in the finding statements, okay? So if you recall where we're at with these guys, it's, we did deny the sales tax and the mortgage tax exemptions, but we did agree to the 20-year pilot, starting out at $8,000 with 1 year, 1% annual escalator. And then there's an additional community benefit payment of $20,000 to Coxsackie Athens School for STEM programs, okay? So as you know, we've been trying to do some community benefit stuff on all projects here on that. So we began the public hearing, closed. The supervisor's comments were the only ones. We're ready to go. The finding statement, everything's been distributed again to the board in advance, the finding statement, the secret documents, the whole 9 yards. So again, I would turn it over to Mr. Goldman and walk us
So
through
the
this.
same package here, we have a secret resolution. Now, in this case, the town planning board acted as the lead agency. So I attached to the resolution the actual negative declaration attached. They did coordinated review for secret. So we are just, out of an abundance of caution, I'm saying that we concur with that determination. So that's the first resolution, concurring in the determination by the town of Coxsackie Planning Board as lead agency for its environmental review. So would someone move that resolution?
So moved.
Need a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And the last one is a final lease resolution. As Renee said, it's approving all the execution, delivery of the documents as stated. So we're just approving the pilot agreement. We're not giving them a sales tax exemption or a mortgage tax exemption. And we're approving in paragraph 2, the deviation under our policy that, again, we don't have a solar policy per se. Because our uniform policy goes back to 98, yeah. So I kind of drafted that. We haven't really updated that. That will be a coming attraction. Section 3 is we approve the finding statement as drafted, and you've all seen that. So the material factor is the investment of $4 million on paragraph section 12, and a community benefit pilot payment in the amount of $20,000. So with that being said, if there's any questions, I'm here. If not, would someone move the resolution?
I'll move the resolution.
Need a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
So that resolution to approve the finding statements.
It's all in there.
I like the way you think there, my friend. The way you think.
We're all done.
Okay, so if no other questions, Dan, you have your lawyer, talk to my lawyer.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We've been reviewing the documents already. We just sent over the-
Do you have some kind of idea when you might break ground, or?
We are just finalizing the ITP with DEC now, so as soon as that gets done, we're hoping to break ground. It's still a work in progress. Every time we think we're there, we've got a little bit more to go.
Understood.
Very close.
We know about that too, a lot about that, so. Okay, that being said, item number 3 that's on the agenda is Athens Generating. As Paul, last month, we had a conversation about Athens Generating and the upcoming ending of the pilot. We did have what I thought was a very productive meeting yesterday. We had all parties represented. The town assessor wasn't here, but town supervisor, school superintendent, school business officer, county administrator, treasurer, head of real property tax service, and the county attorney, Paul, Eric, and myself. Long story short, I think everybody realizes the situation and, that the years are going to come up quick. And without getting too far out, we basically have a draft kind of a strategy, everybody working together cooperatively, and we're going to start moving forward. We're going to start moving forward on that. One of the things that we didn't realize too is that we were looking at the momentum deal, what happens, but it also creates a problem with just from a tax base perspective with the school. And I kind of was a little fuzzy on some of the math, but
It didn't sound good.
it did.
No, I can't imagine how it could.
Well, what it would have done, as he said, it would have resulted, if it goes back on, it would result in a 20% increase in school tax.
Yeah.
Even though it's really a paper thing, he says they'd never get the budget passed. So so long story short, we jumped right on it. We managed to pull everybody together between meetings. And anything you want to add, or?
No, I thought the meeting was excellent,
I'm sorry, did you say the assessor wasn't there, but everybody else was?
yeah, so
Okay.
Rob Butler was there, and
Okay.
I think he kind of got it. I think he's been kind of secretly planning, because he said they put some money aside to appraise this, he said, in theory. So, look, they got a problem, and, the point of my speech, Keith, you weren't here, but I said, look, they're running right off a cliff at some point, and I didn't want to be responsible for not saying, hey, guys, the cliff is right here, so, the trough is gonna end, and, you gotta deal with it. So I think we did our job in that regard. We kind of came up with a plan as to how we're dealing with it. It's a little, we're ahead of the curve because the company is in their, fourth bankruptcy. So I thought it was good, they gotta get a plan, they gotta think about it, they kind of talked about, well, what is this thing worth? I said, well, you can spend a lot of money and you're gonna have divergent opinions because this is not exactly science, it's kind of more art. So we're gonna be getting together in November with maybe a further update and see what they want to do. And at that point, I think, because what's happening in the bankruptcy is, the bank, which is Beal Bank, you may have seen them, they're more of a Western outfit, and is taking over. So that tells you that, there's not an operator that's gonna take this property, it's a bank. So that means this property is in distress. Because, we've had, anytime you have 4 bankruptcies
It ain't good.
in a lifetime, there's either too much leverage or someone's getting whacked in here. So, we'll see how it lays out.
I'd like to commend you for bringing it to the attention of the board, because this could have been kind of an emergency dealing with it in a year or 2 years from now. So I think taking this proactive approach is really benefiting the community.
We do too.
Renee, that's wholly within the Catskill School District?
No, there's parts of it, the majority of it is in the Catskill School
I
District.
think all of it's in school district.
Now, there's a portion of the line that's in the Coxsackie-Athens District, just north of where the line comes into the plant. So there's a portion, there's about 5 or 6 parcels. Now, our IDA our pilot does not cover those parcels in the Coxsackie-Athens District because we never, back 23 years ago, advertised those as part of the project. They tried to get us to jam it in there, and I said no, because we've been through that. So, look, I mean, this is the first time I've seen the school district at any of these meetings in the 23 years. So we've been pretty good stewards of their assets, but I told them, at the end of the day, the party's over, and you're gonna have to be responsible for this.
Is Catskill School District is present?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the best thing, as Paul said, is that everybody got it and was willing to come to the table and work together to, start to develop a plan. What that is, we don't know, but that for me was the most encouraging thing, was that to a person, it seemed like every person was like, hey, let's start figuring this out, and didn't want to revisit the past. They're like, well, why, because it doesn't really matter. We are where we are. So I thought it went really well.
Yeah, I thought it was excellent.
And if they read the Times Union article on Memento,
Oh,
they didn't sleep.
Well, I think they kind of got the fact that this thing's assessed at 1.2 billion. Now, I said to them, it doesn't mean anything because no one's paying on it.
Right.
So, but at some point, that's gonna come live, because they even cut a separate deal with the fire district, which would be the only thing we can't accept. So I thought that's good. I just, what I want to do is then just say, look, this is gonna be your baby if you don't want us to deal with it. And I don't want people backstabbing us like we've taken a history of this thing. So,
We want them to have ownership,
Yeah.
and it looks like they're willing to take that.
yeah, it's gonna be there, so they better
Right.
plan for it.
Exactly.
Yeah, because we don't really have anything to do until the back end. If it's decided that, something, further pilot is the answer, then we would come back into the picture again and that. But again, it did go very well, and I think everybody's got a handle on it. And I'll back up Paul. Rob did say that he had put away some fairly significant money in anticipation that this was going to come up.
Which was encouraging that there was an awareness this was coming down the tracks and they had to do something.
And they actually even had kind of discussed a pattern of how they're gonna share these costs going forward.
Yeah, which was good.
So I think people were pretty, got it, that this is a serious issue.
Good old friend, that's Jen. Okay, so no other questions or comments on that. We'll move right along here. The other items are more just for information purposes, under the new projects. Though we don't have an application in yet with Key Capture Energy, this is the battery storage project in Caro. We've been in sort of what I would call an extended pre-application meeting, which we always encourage the applicants to do. Come talk to me. Let's work through the major bugs. Let's try to get the major terms sort of figured out before we get to an application. And as you know, with the problem with the situation with Key is they're purchasing, as we noted before, and I showed you the map last month, they're purchasing roughly a 21 acre, one parcel, 21 acres, the other one's 4 to 5 acres. They're only using a very small piece of the 21 acre piece. The town is concerned that that property is then lost for development purposes. So the town wanted to see them somehow divest themselves of that. It was suggested that they donate that land to the IDA. Having been through some free land debacles in the past here, you know me, I'm doing my homework on this one. I won't say too much. By next month, I'll have some numbers for you. I got them now roughly. I think one of the things they want to do, and I've been very upfront with them, is they would like to use part of the land donation as an offset to our fee. And I said, well, we have to talk about that. So I've been doing some numbers, and I think I got a proposal there. I think I got something that's going to work out actually pretty well, I think. But I need to investigate some other adjoining parcels that are out there, because there's some land base out there that's going to be difficult to develop long-term without some other access ways and some things like that. But I do think that there's some readily available property for development that would make us whole plus on the fee part. But let me do a little additional research. This coming month is still a few questions I got to answer, but I've been running a lot of numbers on what prior sales have been and what tax production is on the adjoining lots, et cetera. And I really think that we can, that this could work out, in a positive manner, but I won't have a better idea till next month. I don't know if there's any questions on that. Friar Tuck, we continue to work with the representatives and new owners out there. I will give, so far so good. They're asking the right questions. We're asking for the right information. You're aware they got sold, right? What's different now is I've met the new owners. There's Chinese investors. To what extent? There's a Chinese girl who is kind of the lead representative of the principal. Much smarter than what we were dealing with before. Seems to have a much better handle on it. We could have conversations. With Lily Lee in the past, it was always like, yeah. This girl is very, okay, no, we're doing this, we're thinking. So we expect now, they're doing work. If anybody's been out by there, they've already put some pretty significant money in place, new roofing, et cetera. But they're also working with this company, Savarino, out of Buffalo, which is a real big development. They're like a BBL type, size, credibility, they're big players. So they brought them in as like a project manager. That guy assures me, yep, they've been paying the bills, they've been making investments. So far, so good. Everything's looking pretty cheery. I don't think anybody at this table would disagree with me that if somehow we could help play a role in getting this albatross finally doing something, it should be a priority for us. Okay, so.
They publicly stated what direction they're heading?
They're looking to open again. Like now they're not sure if they're gonna open the main building or not. They're doing basically engineering cost benefit analysis, and it may turn out that the large building, the original building, is just not worth doing. They're gonna focus on they're focusing on trying to get to like 250 keys with the newer buildings that are in the back and with the townhouse complex that's out there. Maybe eventually converting the townhouse back to townhouses. I actually suggested if you make it hotel space, think about in the future converting that to an extended stay area, because we don't have that here, and there's definitely a demand, people coming into town looking to stay a month or weeks at a time. They also are looking to try to utilize the land base and provide opportunities for other people to come in. For example, they've been talking to a woman, I don't know who she is. She's down around the back road around the corner from them, but I guess she has a small horse riding place. And she's got very limited land, so they've talked to her about, maybe they'd lease her a piece of land on her property, their property, very cheap. She could set up her horse riding business on that, and then it would benefit both. It would benefit her, it would benefit them. So they are looking at ways they could maybe get other entrepreneurs because they have a large land base there. Get other entrepreneurs in the community to maybe come in and set up some kind of business to go with it. So far, so good. I'm encouraged by the stuff they're doing.
How
And
much land do they have?
they're like 120 acres, I want to tell you, up there. So,
It's a chunk.
yeah, it's a pretty good chunk for a resort, for a resort down there.
I didn't realize that.
They could they're talking about looking into doing
Is there a lot of
solars.
wetlands in there?
Yeah, there's a lot of wetland stuff.
Yeah.
But again, they could use that to their advantage too, with like an adventure course down in the floodplains. And that's what she brought up. Well, it's floodplain, but we could do
Trails.
this, an adventure course, trails. I said, yep, that's exactly the kind of stuff you want to put in a floodplain. The septic's gonna be a big issue, the sewer's gonna be a big issue. Sabarino had called me and he started talking about districts and this and that. I was like, wait a minute, back up. I said, if you're thinking about forming a sewer district, you've got to be thinking that there's other users out there. And I'm just gonna tell you that there's no other users out there right now worth that to tie in.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to create a sewer district, you're gonna add 3 years onto this project probably, just trying to get it through town and everything else. So it's likely that they'll probably go to Transportation Corp route, which is nobody likes them as it is. The town will have to thumbs up or thumbs down that. So my job will be to convince, keep the town on track to say, I know you don't like this, but if you really want to see this place redeveloped, a little bit of poison or a lot of poison is what it comes down to, I guess, in my mind.
They're all trucking it out, is that, when you say transportation?
No, no, it's just the way they set it up. It's just, I don't know why they call them transportation corporations. Paul can maybe fill us in on that afterwards, but it's basically just a regular corporation. The asset of the corporation is the sewer plant. Liabilities of it are the operating costs of the sewer plant or any debt that's on the sewer plant. And it just operates like a separate corporation. The user would be the hotel, would pay them to the corporation. The corporation could have multiple users. They could sell services to multiple entities. That might be one reason they're thinking about doing it instead of getting their own general speedies. They may be thinking if they sub up leases or properties or something, it would work better. I don't know. We haven't gotten that far yet, but they're working through the right details. First of all, they're probably the first person that's come along and said, yeah, we can't use the sewer system. The old owners were like, no, we're going to fix it. You are not going to fix a 50-year-old lagoon system and use it in this day and age. Ain't happening. So again, we're positive things are happening, and we'll keep trying to move the ball forward on that one, I guess. On the exit 21 on East, a couple things. We are finally made progress with the Thruway Authority. Our friends at Stewart's, had some of their friends make some phone calls for us, and it worked very well. I will say that people are moving quickly now. The survey is finally done and approved, which if I could show you the emails and stuff that was going back and forth with these guys, it was absolutely ridiculous from the Thruways. Oh, the shading's too light. They sent it back, oh, now it's too dark. And, I want this here. And then I was following. And then they made them move it again, like a little note on the drawing. This was going on and on. That's done. They should already be commissioning the appraisal at this point. They're going to move immediately to that. Sometime here, maybe by next board meeting, probably not, but by the end of the year, we should have a price. And we'll take a look at it and see where we are. I think we're going to be good. Second on that, we've been meeting with Stewart's. Stewart's is still full board to go. We've got a kind of a general idea in pricing that works. The donation of the building is still on the table, that the old Stewart's would come to us for the tourism center for the county. So things are moving slowly but surely on that. The hotel deal is definitely dead. I can't even get, which I know, but, I did hear back from them guys, they're dead in the water. And again, if you've been watching any of the press or the Business Review, there's been multiple articles on the impact on the hotel industry here, especially, the Northeast and in the capital region. So we're gonna just be sitting for a little bit, there's no hotel, but we'll start marketing it, and something else comes along that'll produce sales tax and or otherwise, we'll go with it and make a roll with it on that.
Does Stewart's have any interest in developing the whole parcel?
Not right now. I've told Stewart's to see whether they could find a sort of a co-tenant, because, they've done that lately in some of their designs. Because the way I think the lot will lay out, it'll lay out better if they would take a larger piece than they need, like for a double user. And they're not sure yet, so they're gonna look into that. They were thinking maybe trying to find a bank to partner with them. I thought a bank would do well there, because I gotta say, everybody I've asked what should go there, a bank's been at the top of the list, believe it or not, which is something I didn't even think about.
Like a bank branch, yeah.
Think a bank branch, because people getting off the throughway want to get money out, whoever, but yeah, I was surprised. I've heard this repeatedly from a bunch of people, surprisingly.
I just did a deal with them on 155. They took 1.665 acres. So that's, and boy, I'll tell you, they literally hit the ground, and the thing I think is done. The building is done in like 3 months. I mean, I was shocked.
Doing in Catskill.
Well, look at Catskill, yeah.
They're saying 8 weeks in Catskill.
Yeah, they're like a well-oiled machine. In terms of, they have a group of people, bam, 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 bam.
Renee, have you heard that they're possibly taking over the Fox Run and making that like a mega Stewart's?
No, I've
I've
not
heard
heard
that, but I haven't heard any other.
That would be a mega. That would be an immenso.
Well, they would do, yeah, like
Right,
truck
right,
filling,
right.
all that, which would be fantastic if they did.
Clean that place
It
up.
would, yeah, it would look a lot better. I think their revenue would go back up too.
Right. Yeah, that hotel's a problem there.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, just like the Indian guys don't own
Yeah.
Yeah, the Sons do.
that? Shaw's his name, right?
Yeah, well, it's the Sons, yeah.
The son's a smart kid, he's a lawyer.
The reason I
right?
bring that up is someone had brought that to me, that they may be interested in that, in looking at the full development, so.
I've been
If you just
talking
want
with him.
floated by him again.
I've been talking to him on a constant basis, that has not come up.
Yeah, well, it's like everything else, a lot of rumors flying.
Yeah, a lot of rumors flying.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen them, so, Chuck had once mentioned that he would take over the whole development, so you may want to ask him, I mean, I just don't think it's on his radar screen, because I think he's just dealing with,
Right.
what they're dealing with, but right now, they're a growing business.
So one, we won't sell it unless somebody's ready to go, break ground with something positive. Nobody's specking on it,
No.
okay? That's the one
Yeah,
thing.
No, we can't afford that.
Well, that's what still bites us in the ass, pardon my French, with all this waterfront, this roadfront lottage up here in Greene Business. We sold that property in 2005, that property 15 years ago. I constantly get beat up from people, how come you're not developing? And I'm like, we sold it, and nothing's
The guy
happened.
deserves to get a return on his money.
And unfortunately, I probably could have sold a bunch of that lot off since I've been here if I'd had control on it, but I can't buy it back from him at the price he bought it from us, that's for sure. I mean, he hit the market just
Yeah, but
right.
we should ask him if he wants us to be, to try to market it, and then,
I send him people repeatedly. I send people to him repeatedly, so, and I make recommendations to him repeatedly. I even went so far to tell him, we had said originally that we put no other access roads other than what we designed in the master development. I even told him at one point, we considered letting them put a secondary road in across from McDonald's so they could get into that piece of flow in and out. We've done I've bent over backwards for these guys, and I still continue to send them people. But on the other hand, I'll also note for you that I'm also in the business of selling our land.
Yeah.
So we've still got 2 roadfront commercial lots up there too, so, gotta think about that, which,
Gotta be priorities.
right now, I think everything's people are trying to figure out where they are.
now the rumor is, and I've been waiting to see what comes true, but it seems, so supposedly, it was in the recent minutes of the Kasaki Planning Board, I should have asked Rick, that Ace Hardware is gonna build up here next to, the dollar store, where Lick's Ice Cream and those are. So
Take over the vacant,
that would be the place to do
yeah.
it. Well, they probably want that 9W visibility. So I don't know if it's Young's trying to do a 3rd store, because I don't know if Ace does company stores. They're all franchise. Because Young's had talked to me once before about maybe coming up here. And I think maybe our lots were just a little expensive for them. I don't know. But anyway, that's the word on the street with that. Quick for Benny's, and actually I should introduce, if anybody doesn't know, this is Benny Buell. Benny is the proprietor owner of Birch Hill Construction Company. Was the actually was a past proprietor of one of our properties, the Freehold Inn, and then most recently, the Mountaintop Brazier. And fortunately, he has managed to divest himself of that business. As Benny said, 22 years in the restaurant business is long enough on that. And, but just so you understand, we're talking about the tourism center. You know where the tourism center is now?
Yeah.
Down there. That's on Thruway land. Okay, so we're looking to acquire that piece that goes all around the back of the Quality Inn, about 2.2 more acres. Actually, it goes around 3 sides of the Quality Inn. And get stewards to flip the building to us. And what we've already done is we've done some past projects here. We've done 4 past projects where one of the requirements has been that the applicant make a community benefit payment back as a portion of the sales tax abated. So we've literally at this point raised, we have about a $500,000 architect's estimate to refit that building, because we're not gonna make it a tourism center that looks like an old Stewart's. We've already raised about 300,000 of that through each of these projects, doing a little piece back. And those all came off of hospitality projects, so they'll benefit directly from that too, you know, tourism center. If there's any questions on that, I'll just jump over lastly on the other item on here is I mentioned last month to the board, Jake Halen at Columbia Memorial Hospital had approached me about the possibility of moving the potential lot for the medical center from our property on the west side to the Quality Inn side. Again, you know, I've been opposed from day one. Last month, we talked about this in here. We know the hotels, you know, maybe never. Do we get something going rather than nothing going? We decided to put the question to the county since they're our partners on this. We haven't gotten the answer back from the county on that. But subsequent to that, Jay come and met with me again and said, I think we're gonna why don't we just stay over where we're at? And I wanna be careful here, but they don't wanna get caught up in another layer of approvals and back and forth and potentially any other caveats put on it or conditions by our partners. So it looks like that's what we're gonna keep right now. They're on the parcel. They did just make the first option payment. With the COVID, as I remember, I gave everybody a 2-month extension on their options, on the free part of their options, just because of COVID. That's now expired. And so they're moving forward. We're working with Central Hudson right now about getting the natural gas line extended out there. You know, so some of the conversations that Jay and I've had is that maybe the hospital could pick up a good piece of that line versus us, and maybe we could have some consideration in pricing. And I said, look, we're wide open. I said, because it's all a matter of a pro forma, whether we take it out of this pocket, put it in that, or just, you know, so if you give us a little less, but we pay out a little less, you know, it's all good. So we're willing to be there, ready and partner with him on that. I also did have another inquiry about the old garage that's on the property, and I told them, forget it, we're not interested. It was somebody who just wanted to go in there and use it as is and do an auto repair
You
shop.
never heard back from them on that?
No, on the gas station, I did not hear back from them. I just let it sort of die. I kind of think they're the ones that are talking about the Caro Triangle up there. I know there's interest in opening that gas station up there again. And there's a Gas World or something like that that's looking at where Cat's Rentals are on 9W across from Pizza Hut. That little strip. The rumor mill was that it was Quick Check. And I said, there's no way in hell Quick Check's going in there. Quick Check needs a big flat piece. That's a little narrow. But it's some company called Gasland. I strongly suspect it's these guys out of downstate. So anyway, I don't know that either of them were real. Well, I can tell you the mechanic wasn't a serious buyer, even he could never be a buyer at our price anyway. And with the gas station, they wanted to try to get us down on price. Not so bad. We could have probably reached a consensus on that, but I think we all agree that's just not a good spot for one right there. I mean, we put a lot of money in. We just approved Camptown putting some $1 million in across the street. You know, let's sit and make sure we do this right and get the right kind of development in there on that piece there.
I have heard that possibly Dwayne Esposito's property and the property next to that may have sold to
Which one's
similar. That's the old Catskill Glass
Oh,
on the
well,
building next door.
I think this is this Gas World because they bought.
I've heard Cumberland Farms as well.
Possible. They sure could get out of where, they don't have a good store in Catskill anywhere.
I know they've been looking.
Okay. Yeah,
So,
that-
but again, it's rumor mill.
Yeah, it's all rumor mill, and those wouldn't be projects we could help anyway, because they're, they're your typical retail, they're not our top, but it's always good to know. Let's just see. No, I think they got everything.
How far out is that natural gas line now?
We gotta go about, a little over 3,000 feet.
Is it to the car wash or where is it?
Just about where, where the car wash transmission place burned down, it's like right there. So we gotta get it from there up.
How big a line?
It'd probably be 6. We extended, remember, if you remember, we already put $800,000 in this to upgrade to that 6-inch line, so it'd be 6, because the incremental difference, once you're doing it between 6 and 4 on the material cost is relatively negligible. It's your excavation, especially up there in all that rock, you don't ever want to go back and have to upgrade that line again. I know. So I think things are moving. We're reaching out now to some of the other people in the area. Yesterday, I was trying to communicate with Home Depot, try to get to the owner of the building, a few of the others, see if we can, because if you know how it works with Central Hudson when they do this, they'll send like one mailing out to everybody where the proposed extension is, and if you don't respond to it, they don't follow up. And you gotta be a little aggressive about this. So I know in Catskill, when they did some work down there, some neighbors wanted, the neighbors got aggressive and went knocking on doors, and all of a sudden, 2 people went from like 10 people responded, and it made the math work so that they could pay for the line. So we're working on that. I've heard nothing more from the housing development. That seems to be, I don't know whether it's just slow, dead in the water, not having a response back on it. If I don't hear something soon, I'm gonna contact Ken Kearney and give Ken a shot, or see if Ken is interested. I also wanted to look at that Carroll property too that we were talking about. It brings me, before I close, Hecate and Flint Mine Solar, just so you know, they both have had complete applications now into the PSC, the public hearing notice, the public hearings are starting now. The time frame on the approval, if anybody's guess is as good as mine. I suspect that it won't be lengthy. I think there's interest at the state, obviously, in promoting this stuff. And their application process is a little different. There's really a lot of intense stuff that goes into that application. They gotta do the public meetings and the information stuff and blah, blah, blah. So I suspect that it's probably within relatively 6 months, we probably will see a PSC decision on that. And then just a reminder, then they're gonna come knocking. With Hecate, we still have the situation where the town has opposed it. The supervisor's not here now. He forgot that they thought they opposed the Article 10 process, but they did not. Their resolution directly and outrightly opposes that project. And I said, if you want to reconsider your opposition, we were here, but we've told you we would not go against your opposition. We all should be prepared for the fact that that might mean that Mr. Goldman has to do some work for us. If we make a denial on an application on that, I think we're on solid grounds on that basis. If nothing else, I'm willing to test it,
Yeah, I think it's our discretion.
Yeah, well, that's our discretion. I think, the state, the comptroller and all them guys beat us all up for not being transparent and not working with the community and being like we're out there like outlaws. And so let's see what happens when we actually do what they think we're supposed to do. I'm not worried about it either. I think we're on solid ground, quite frankly. But
Now,
I'm just,
Hecate is the one that's going all the way from Flats Road to 9W on the southern side of Flint Mine? Or are we talking up here by the prison?
yeah, they'll be on the other side of railroad tracks in the prison. They'll be between 385 and the railroad tracks for the most part, on the east side of the railroad tracks.
So
Above Sleepy Hollow Lake,
Yeah.
in that area there. Flint Mine is the one that's west of the railroad tracks and west of 9W and extends into Athens. Flint Mine's not had as much problem. In fact, they've been going to Athens. Athens actually either gave them a zoning variance or they gave them a zoning change. Do you remember, Maggie, what they did on that?
No,
Follow
that would be the town.
Yeah, it was the town, but I
I don't
know,
know that they've met.
no, they have. The town's had some public hearings on it.
Details.
Details.
Yeah, the town's had some public hearings on it and stuff, and I think that there was either a variance or there was an amendment to the zoning for it.
Currently, like within the last several months?
Yeah. So, but Flint Mine's raised very little, angst amongst people. But they're gonna be interesting because they're gonna probably be some really big numbers because, they're gonna be looking for sales, they're gonna be looking probably for mortgage, they're gonna be looking for the pilots. And so,
Listen,
it'd be interesting.
they're big projects, right? These are not like 2 and 3 megawatt deals, right? They're 10, 20, 30, right?
Oh, yeah, one's 50 and one's 100.
Yeah, it's,
So do the math. I mean, you saw the numbers for 5 megawatts.
This is 5, yeah, exactly.
So at some point, we'll have to have a general or broader conversation. At this point in time, since I've been in the seat, every project we've done has had a positive pro forma in the end. Our cost benefit ratios have been positive on every project. The reason we did not do the sales and mortgage tax, or the sales and mortgage tax for Freepoint, was that it caused the pro forma to go negative on the public benefit over time. Okay. Now, you could argue if it didn't get built, you wouldn't have gotten it anyway, which is reality. But when you consider the numbers, so as we approach some of these upcoming projects, finding a balance that there's a completely positive cost benefit is going to be difficult. But then again, I'm of the mind that, let's say on a sales and use tax on $100 million, on a 100 megawatt project, okay, that's a monster number. But if we don't give them the pilot, that number is never going to happen anyway. The county's never going to see that sales tax anyway. So do you just say, hey, look, we didn't see the sales tax, but we're making 200, 300% more off the vacant land locked in versus what it was producing? So we'll see. They're just going to be interesting ones to do.
So for next meeting, Renee, because having a little trouble keeping all these different solar projects going, as far as which one's where and how much and how big, maybe we could do a map that just kind of gives a layout of the land.
Yep, I will do that.
Get a little better feel.
Did you ever think upstate New York would be a solar field? I mean, potentially, I never thought in my lifetime I would see it. I mean, wind, I think I could get, but solar?
Meanwhile, you got a power plant that's in its 4th bankruptcy.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
can't even.
think the whole world is just upside
It
down.
doesn't make any sense.
Is it,
Yeah, your Shepherd's Farms.
Okay,
Yeah.
so last, but certainly not least, it is with my greatest pleasure that I get to announce this morning that the Village Kisaki Municipal Solar Field #1
Is active?
is active. It is producing electricity, and the little electrons are happily going to all the end users and firing up things like cell phones and microwaves and air
And I
current.
got all the final docs from them, so I recorded because we had to amend it a little bit, but yeah, no. And actually, the lawyer, nice young man.
Yeah.
He's a nice kid, so.
And we billed them yesterday for the prorated first lease payment, and their first pilot payment will be coming up too.
Yeah, so it's good. I think it's all good.
So I have, unless anybody else has any other questions, comments, concerns, or otherwise, that's pretty much all that I had for the meeting.
Need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
second.
All those in favor?